My father raised a glass to my sister at a $2,000 dinner, calling her a self-made genius who bought her own penthouse. Then he turned to me and mocked me for driving an old sedan, telling me I should learn from her success. I sat there gripping my fork, trying not to laugh. He had no idea that her penthouse, her Range Rover, and the diamond necklace she was wearing were all paid for by me. She wasn't self-made. She was brother-funded. So, right there at the table, I pulled out my phone, opened my banking app, and cancelled her credit cards. Watch what happened when the waiter brought the check. To Sarah, my father bellowed, raising his wine glass high. The crystal caught the light of the chandelier in the private dining room of Le Monde, the most expensive French restaurant in the city. To my brilliant, independent daughter, a self-made woman who just bought her dream penthouse at 25. I always knew you had the Midas touch, sweetheart. Sarah beamed, adjusting her diamond necklace. Thanks, Daddy. It's been a grind, but hard work pays off. I sat there, gripping my fork until my knuckles turned white. Hard work. That was a funny way to pronounce my brother's American Express black card. My name is Jason, and for the last 4 years I have been the silent engine behind the illusion of my sister's success. Our mother made me promise on her deathbed to take care of Sarah. She was worried Sarah wasn't equipped for the real world. She was right. Sarah was impulsive, lazy, and addicted to luxury. I, on the other hand, was the boring investment banker. I made a fortune in fintech, but I lived simply. I honored my mother's wish. I paid Sarah's rent. I paid her car lease. I paid off her credit cards every single month. No questions asked. I let her tell Dad that her lifestyle blog was funding it all because I didn't want to break his heart. He needed to believe one of his children was a star. And he never saw me as one because I wasn't flashy. But tonight, the narrative was shifting from Sarah is doing well to Jason is a disappointment. You know, Jason, my father said, turning his gaze to me. The warmth in his eyes vanished. You could learn a thing or two from your sister. She's out there making things happen, buying real estate, building a brand. And what do? You hoard your money in those boring index funds. You still drive that 4-year-old sedan. It's embarrassing. I like my sedan, Dad, I said quietly. It's not about the car, Dad scoffed. It's about the mindset. Sarah is a winner. She's generous too. Look at this dinner. She treated us all tonight. A $2,000 meal, and she didn't even blink. I almost choked on my water. Sarah had treated us using the supplementary credit card linked to my account. Technically, I was treating us. Again. She's very generous, I agreed, my voice tight. She is, Dad emphasized. Unlike some people. You know, your aunt told me you refused to loan her money for her roof last week. But Sarah sent her a check immediately. That's class, Jason. That's what being self-made allows you to do, help family. That was the breaking point. The check Sarah sent. It came from a wire transfer I made to her account that morning, because she called me crying about being overdrawn, and claimed she wanted to do something nice for Aunt Mary. I gave her the money. She took the credit, and now Dad was using my own generosity to insult me. I looked at Sarah. She avoided my eyes, taking a long sip of champagne. She was enjoying this. She loved being the golden child, even if the gold was painted on by me. Self-made, I repeated slowly. That's a strong word, Dad. It's the right word, Dad snapped. She built her business from the ground up. No handouts. No help. Just grit, unlike you, who had every advantage and still acts like a miser. I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. I unlocked it and opened my banking app. Then I opened the PDF viewer where I kept the monthly statements for the card I had given Sarah. For emergencies only. A card she used for everything from Gucci bags to this very dinner. Is something funny, Jason? Dad asked, seeing the small, cold smile forming on my face. Actually, yes, I said. It's hilarious. You keep talking about Sarah's hard work. I'm just curious. Sarah, did your hard work pay for the penthouse down payment last week? Or was it a wire transfer from an account ending in 8,890? Sarah froze. Her glass clinked against the table as she set it down too hard. Jason, don't, she whispered, her eyes widening in panic. Don't what? Dad asked, looking confused. What's account 8,890? That's my main checking account, Dad, I said, standing up. And I think it's time we looked at the receipts. Because I'm tired of being the villain in a story I'm paying to produce. Jason, sit down, Sarah hissed, her face draining of color. You promised Mom. You promised you wouldn't do this. I promised Mom I would make sure you were okay, I said, my voice steady. I didn't promise to let you use my money to humiliate me in front of our father. And I certainly didn't promise to let you pretend my hard-earned success is yours. Dad looked between us, his brow furrowed. He still didn't get it. He didn't want to get it. Jason, stop being jealous. It is unbecoming. Your sister bought that apartment with her blog earnings. She showed me the papers. She showed you the deed, Dad, I corrected. She didn't show you the bank transfer for the $200,000 down payment. But don't worry. I have it right here. I tapped my phone screen and slid it across the white tablecloth to my father. It displayed a high-definition PDF of a wire transfer receipt dated 3 weeks ago. From Jason Reed, Chase Sapphire checking 2. Sarah Reed, escrow services amount, $200,000. Memo. Penthouse down payment gift. Dad stared at the screen. He blinked, pulled his reading glasses from his pocket and stared again. He looked up at Sarah, then back at the phone. This is a loan, right? Dad asked, his voice wavering. She's paying you back? She told me her sponsorship deal with that fashion brand covered it. There is no sponsorship deal, Dad, I said ruthlessly. And there is no blog revenue. Her blog gets maybe 50 views a month. I pay for the hosting fees. I pay for the domain name. I even pay for the photographer she hires to take pictures of her lavish lifestyle. That's a lie, Sarah screamed, standing up. I have followers. I have influence. You have bots, I said, which I paid for in 2021, because you were crying about your engagement numbers. Do you want to see that receipt too? Dad was scrolling through the phone now. I had created a folder simply titled, Sarah's Life. It contained everything. Range Rover lease. $1,200 a month. Paid by Jason. Dad read aloud, his voice sounding hollow. Credit card payment. $14,000. Paid by Jason. Utilities. Insurance. Jason. He stopped scrolling. He looked at Sarah. He looked at the daughter he had put on a pedestal. The self-made genius he had bragged about to every golf buddy he had. He looked at the lie. Sarah, Dad whispered. Is any of it real? Do you pay for anything? Sarah burst into tears. It was her go-to defense mechanism. You don't understand. It's an investment. I have to look the part to get the deals. Jason can afford it. He has millions sitting in the bank doing nothing. He's just greedy. Greedy? I laughed. It was a cold, sharp sound that silenced the room. I have given you over $500,000 in 4 years, Sarah. And tonight, I sat here and listened to you let Dad call me a miser. I listened to you take credit for the check I sent Aunt Mary. That wasn't an investment. That was theft of my character. You did this to embarrass me, she sobbed. I did this because you forgot who feeds you, I said. I took my phone back from my father's trembling hands. I opened my banking app again. What are you doing? Sarah asked, wiping her eyes. a sudden flash of fear replacing the tears. I'm initiating a little austerity measure, I said. I tapped the screen. That black card you have in your purse. The one you used to treat us to this dinner. I looked at her. I just reported it lost. It's deactivated. You can't, she shrieked. I have a spa appointment tomorrow. I have a trip to CABO next week. Not anymore, I said. And the lease on the Range Rover. It's in my name. I'll be having the dealership pick it up on Monday. You can take the bus. It's better for the environment, right? Good for your brand. Dad. Sarah turned to him, pleading. Do something. He's cutting me off. He's ruining my life. Dad looked at me. For a second, I thought he might yell. I thought he might defend her out of habit. But the shame was too fresh. He looked at the empty wine bottles on the table, the luxurious room, the diamond necklace around Sarah's neck, and he realized he hadn't paid for any of it. And neither had she. He looked small. I can't afford to help you, Sarah, Dad muttered, looking down at his plate. You know my retirement is fixed. I thought you were successful. She is successful, I said, standing up and buttoning my jacket. She successfully conned us both. But the bank of Jason is closed. Permanently. Just then, the waiter walked in with a leather folio. He placed it gently in front of Sarah. The bill, madam, the waiter said politely. Whenever you are ready. Sarah stared at the folio like it was a bomb. I can single quotes T. She stammered, looking at me. Jason, the card is cancelled. It won't work. I know, I said, smiling. But you're a self-made woman, Sarah. I'm sure you have some cash from all that hard work you are bragging about. I looked at Dad. I'm going home. My sedan gets great gas mileage, so I don't need to stop. Enjoy the coffee. Jason, wait, Sarah pleaded, grabbing my arm. The bill is $2,000. I don't have it. Dad doesn't have it. They'll call the police. That sounds like a great content opportunity for your blog, I said, peeling her fingers off my sleeve. My night in a holding cell. It'll be viral. I walked out of the private dining room. As the door closed, I heard the waiter ask, Is there a problem with the payment method, madam? Followed by Sarah's frantic sobbing. I walked out into the cool night air. My 4-year-old sedan was waiting for me. It wasn't a Range Rover. It wasn't flashy. But it was mine. Paid for, maintained, and fueled by my own money. I got in, turned on the radio, and drove home. I slept better that night than I had in 4 years. But of course, Sarah wasn't done. Entitlement is a disease, and she had a severe case. The next morning, the text messages started, and then came the threats. The texts started at 6 a.m. They ranged from begging to threatening to sheer delusion. Jason, please. I can't pay the bill. They took my driver's license as collateral. You are stealing my car. That is illegal. Mom is watching you from heaven and she is ashamed. I ignored them all. I went to work, closed a massive deal for my firm, and ate a sandwich at my desk. It was the most peaceful Monday I had experienced in years. But I knew Sarah. She wouldn't go down quietly. She lived for drama. And since she couldn't buy her way out of this one, she decided to use her platform. At noon, a colleague walked into my office, looking uncomfortable. Jason, have you seen Instagram? He asked. No, I said. I don't follow my sister anymore. You might want to look. She's live streaming. I pulled up the app. There she was, sitting on the floor of her penthouse. The one I paid the down payment for, tears streaming down her perfectly contoured face. The caption read, Surviving financial abuse. My brother cut me off to control me. He's a monster. Sarah was sobbing to her 12,000 followers. half of whom were bots I paid for. He waited until I was vulnerable, and then he took everything. He stole my car funds. He froze my accounts. He wants to see me fail because he's jealous of my shine. I'm a self-made woman, and he's trying to break me. The comments were flooding in. Stay strong, queen. Toxic family is the worst. Sue him. I felt a vein throb in my temple. She was playing the victim using the very technology I subsidized. She was weaponizing my generosity against me. I could have sued her for defamation. I could have called her. But I decided to handle it the way I handled everything. With cold, hard data. I didn't comment on her video. Instead, I logged into the hosting account for her blog, the account I owned, because I paid the bill. I didn't delete the site. That would be petty. Instead, I uploaded a new blog post. I titled it, "The Cost of Being Sarah, a Financial Breakdown." I uploaded the PDF of the spreadsheet. Every single line item. The $200,000 down payment. The $1,200 car lease. The credit card bills for business expenses that were actually spa days and trips to Tulum. I included the receipt for the bots. I included the email where she asked me for money for Aunt Mary, followed by the text where she told Dad she paid it herself. Then, I redirected her homepage to this specific post. I sat back and waited. It took about 20 minutes. I watched the live stream on my phone. Suddenly, the comments changed. Wait, is this true? You bought followers. Girl, your brother paid for your rent. I thought you were a CEO. This receipt says he paid for your groceries last week. LOL. Sarah looked at the screen, confusion clouding her teary performance. She squinted. Then her face went white. She ended the stream instantly. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. It wasn't Sarah. It was the dealership. Mr. Reed? This is Tosin Luxury Auto. We're at the residence to recover the Range Rover per your instructions on the lease termination. The vehicle. Well, the resident is refusing to hand over the keys. She's currently sitting on the hood screaming. I see, I said. Is the spare key in the lockbox under the chassis? The one I told you about? Yes, sir. We located it. Then take the car, I said. If she stays on the hood, that's a traffic violation. Feel free to call the police. I hung up. By that evening, Sarah was trending locally, but not in the way she wanted. The self-made influencer exposed as a brother-funded fraud. Her brand deals, which were practically non-existent anyway, evaporated. Her friends, the ones who only liked her for the champagne lunches I paid for, disappeared into the woodwork. 2 days later, there was a knock on my door. It was Dad. He looked older than he had at the restaurant. He wasn't wearing a suit. He was wearing a cardigan and holding a 6-pack of cheap beer. Can I come in? He asked quietly. I stepped aside. Dad walked into my house. It was a modest 3-bedroom in the suburbs. Nothing like Sarah's penthouse. He looked at my comfortable, paid-off furniture. He looked at the lack of marble and gold. It's nice, he said. Quiet. It's mine, I said. He sat down on the couch and cracked open a beer. He handed one to me. She asked me for money again today, Dad said, staring at the floor. She needs rent. The HOA fees on the penthouse are $2,000 a month. She can't pay them. I know, I said. I told her no, Dad said. His voice cracked. I told her I couldn't afford her anymore. She screamed at me, Jason. She called me useless. She said if I was a better father, she wouldn't be in this mess. He took a long sip of beer. I realized then, she wasn't talking about money. She was talking about character. And she was right. I was a bad father. I taught her that appearance mattered more than substance. And I taught you that you were only worth what you could provide for her. He looked up at me, his eyes wet. I'm sorry, son. I praised the wrong child. You're the successful one. You always were. You kept your promise to your mother. You took care of her. But I failed. I didn't teach her how to take care of herself. It's not too late, I said gently. She's young. She can learn. But she has to hit the bottom first. She hit it, Dad said. She's moving back in with me tomorrow. Into her old room. I told her if she wants to live there, she has to get a job. A real job, no blogging. And she applied at a coffee shop. Dad smiled weakly. She cried the whole time, but she did it. Sarah lost the penthouse. It went into foreclosure because she couldn't make a single payment without me. She lost the car. She lost the status. 6 months later, I drove by that coffee shop. I saw Sarah through the window. She was wearing an apron, wiping down a table. She looked tired. She wasn't wearing any diamonds. She looked real. She looked up and saw my sedan at the light. Our eyes locked. She didn't wave. She didn't glare. She just nodded once, a small acknowledgement of the new reality. Then she went back to wiping the table. I drove away. I didn't feel guilty anymore. I didn't feel like the boring banker or the miser. I felt free. I had spent 4 years paying for a lie. Now, for the price of a cancelled credit card and a blog post, I had bought everyone the most valuable thing in the world. The truth. And unlike Sarah's lifestyle, the truth was something I could actually afford. If you loved seeing Jason shut down his entitled sister, smash that like button. And here is a tough question for you. If your sibling was using you for money, but your dying mother asked you to take care of them, would you cut them off like Jason did, or keep paying? Let me know your honest thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe for more stories of justice served.